Hey everyone, since Lent's starting, I'm starting a series on making various recipes for Lent. And started off, since it's going to be, Shrove-Tuesday, I'm going to make a recipe from the Middle Ages. From a cookbook by a lady by the name of Sabina Welserin. She was from Germany. And it was published in 1553. Translated by David Freeman. He has a website you can go and find his translation on. And it's to make a sort of donut from Nuremberg, Germany, which is like the church here I've got pictured is a church from that time period in Nuremberg. It is currently Lutheran. It was originally a Catholic church, and the way the recipe goes down, it's very unlike what you would normally get from a donut nowadays because it's very much in the spirit of doing like pancakes for Lent, where you're trying to get rid of all your cheese, you're trying to get rid of all your butter, you're trying to get rid of all your lard or like and your eggs because Lent's coming and you can't eat any of that because in medieval fasting laws you really can't have any of that unless you get an indulgence. And most people didn't. So this is a sort of recipe that became very traditional to make things that were very eggy, very cheesy the day before Lent started. So this is what we're going to go through this recipe today. The twist ingredient is going to be the Parmesan cheese. So the first thing the recipe has us do is make a tart dough. Now it doesn't give us a recipe, but it does. There is other recipes for tart in the book, and they look a lot like a ravioli dough. They ask you to take just straight flour, so a little, and they don't even mention salt, but you want to add it, and a couple eggs. So it's 2 eggs, some flour, and you're basically just kind of mixing it together until it makes a stiff dough. So that's ravioli dough. So this is what we're doing here, doing the traditional well method that you'll see. A little bit of scrambling, and we're just kind of kneading it over and over again. I had it sped up here, but it's going to probably take you it took me about a good 7 or 8 minutes. Could have even up to like 10 or so. Just kind of depend on how fast you need, how good your hands are, how much you're used to this sort of thing. A lot of just back and forth and back and forth. You can see me taking a while. And then once you get this all kneaded, it's going to basically kind of you'll actually want to like form the ball. So that's going to take a little bit of a technique trick. So this is where you're going to take your dough and you're basically going to kind of push it forward with your hands, and you're going to kind of like push it back until you make a little bit of a ball like I am with my hands, and you're going to kind of squeeze until to tighten the skin on top. You can keep squeezing, keep pushing down, keep tightening. Then you're going to go down and you're going to kind of roll it around to flatten out the bottom. And sometimes that gets you a nice tight bottom like the first time. Sometimes, like this one, sometimes it might take you 1 or 2 more extra times. And then the recipe's going to have you do something a little bizarre. It's going to have you use Parmesan cheese, of all things. You're going to want to grate. I did about maybe a half cup to a cup. Not entirely sure what. Finely grated. You want to use the real stuff. Don't use like this stuff in the craft jar. Use like a real Parmesan cheese like I showed you right there. Then you're going to add the recipe tells you to add 2 eggs. So we're going to go ahead and do that. Large chicken eggs. And then we're going to kind of mix it into sort of paste with some more flour. I'm using some of the leftover from the cutting board when I made the ravioli. Some of the stuff that got like mixed with water and stuff already. That way I don't have to like waste as much flour. And then if I need more, I'm going to add more. Just going to depend on like how much I need as I mix it. So you can see me like folding it in. The recipe told me to go with a firm paste here. So I play it safe and went pretty firm with it because a lot of those older recipes tend to be on the pasty side. I probably went a little overboard. If I did this again, I would probably stop right there if I did this again. But I kept going. It still works out fine. I don't know if it would make a huge difference in the overall product, but I think it probably would have been better if I did it the other way. In any case, I kept going. We can see me going to I'm going to keep going, get a little nice paste there. Okay, now the recipe tells you to make long, narrow, flat cakes, and with a spoon lay a small lump of cheese dough, as large as you would like to have it, in the middle of the flat cake and wrap it over. So I'm gonna do something a little different, but it's gonna be pretty similar. Where I'm gonna cut this out like raviolis into strips, and I'm gonna cut little squares, and then like roll them into balls, which it'll work about the same, frankly. So you make a little dough, a little ball of cheese like I did there. You cut out a little square, and you're gonna basically kind of fold it over and on itself. And we're gonna use that same tightening technique we did for that dough ball earlier, but now we're just gonna use it for these little balls. And we're gonna do that for each one. Sometimes you have to tighten a couple times to get it nice and tight. Like that one's not quite as tight as I like it, so I'm gonna tighten it up even more. And then once I get a nice tight, nice and taut there, I'm going to take it, I'm going to roll it kind of in the bottom of it in my hand, do a little swooping motion until I get that bottom nice and tightened up, where you get a nice ball like that. And we're just going to kind of do that for each of these, make nice little balls like that. So I'm going to do that we're going to keep doing that for the strip. So make a little cheese ball, cut the square, fold it over on itself, tighten it, and there you go. I'm not going to show you me doing all of these to you. You can just basically get the idea, but it's the same process for all of these. Those ends you might have to trim off and then refold out into a round, and then go a second round like this, flat, like roll out the dough into a nice long sheet and cut it open like that. But you know, once it's the same process for all this. So you just keep rinsing, repeating until you have all your dough balls nice and formed. Pretty easy once you get the hang of it. Might be a little bit of a trick, but you'll get it down. Alright, so there's our dough balls, looking pretty good once they're all nice and made. They'll fry out quite nicely. So the next thing we gotta consider is going to be the actual frying. So we're going to be using lard. I know a lot of you guys don't have experience with lard, but this is what they would have used in the Middle Ages. Olive oil, I mean, exists in the Mediterranean, but not in Germany. In Germany, you basically got butter and you got lard, and that's about it. So that's what we're going to fry, and this is before vegetable oil. And then we're going to be pan frying. So we don't want to cover all these donuts. We just want them to go about halfway up the side of the donut. I've got this on about medium to medium high heat. When you'll know it's ready when you can put a little bit of the dough and it starts to bubble like that one on the right. That's when you know it's ready. And you're just going to kind of let them go like this, put them all in. You want them to be like the recipe tells you that you want to be bubbling fairly gently. So that's what we got going on here, fairly gentle bubbling. But if they're not bubbling yet, take it out, let the heat come up towards bubbling, and let these fry. And then you're just kind of let them go. This will probably take you about 5 minutes or so for one side. But I can't tell you exactly how long it's going to take. You're going to have to look. When they start to get brown at the bottom like that, that's when you're going to want to flip them. Some of these aren't ready, so I don't flip them. Some of them are, so I go ahead and do. And then we're just going to kind of let it go and keep frying. And then some of these, if you're noticing, because of the way we're doing this with the frying, it doesn't quite go all the way up the side. Like some of these have these little bands that are starting to appear, where they're not as they don't have the nice brown color in the middle. So once this bottom side's done, we're gonna kind of flip them up, and you'll see that happening to some of these, like right here in the back. We're kind of flipping it up halfway on the rim here, and make sure that those sides get done. But if you like a little raw dough on, or not, semi-cooked dough, then a little lighter, a little darker, go for it. But I like it a little more consistent, so this is what we're gonna do. You'll see me turn them around here in a sec to get the other side. You can see how golden they've gotten now on those bands. Yeah, it's looking pretty nice. All right, now they're done. You can see this one right here. They're all pretty much that way. So I'm gonna take them all out, and we're gonna plate them. All right, there we are. Looking pretty nice. Now, while these are still hot, I put a little bit extra grease because they were getting a little bit dry. And then we're gonna add on our salt. And now they wouldn't have done this in the Middle Ages. But having tasted these and thinking about these, it's so savory. You gotta put a little bit of MSG as well. So I'm gonna, like, after putting the salt on, I'm gonna put a little bit of MSG. Don't be scared of it. It's good. Trust me. You eat it in your Doritos, and then there you go. Give it a nice shake. You know, I gotta tell you, one of the things reminded me of most of taste-wise is goldfish. Well, then goldfish crackers, except in the form of a roll. I think they'd be pretty good with like a meat stew, actually. So be sure to follow this channel for the rest of Lent. I'm gonna have all sorts of recipes, and hope you subscribe. See you later. Bye bye.